Smart home for elderly parents, the invisible guardian. Have you ever imagined that your love and care could take on a tangible form? Something you could touch, hear, and see in every corner of the home where your most cherished people live. What if you could peek into their apartment at any moment without disturbing their peace and be sure that everything is all right with your mother or father? That the kettle has turned itself off and the door is securely locked, even if they are a little absent-minded today. This possibility is no longer science fiction from a distant future, but a reality that is gradually entering our apartments, transforming ordinary walls into an invisible yet devoted guardian angel for elderly parents living separately from us. And this reality is called a smart home, but not the kind we are used to seeing in glossy magazines for the young, but a special, meticulously thought-out world created for safety, comfort, and the preservation of independence for those who have given us the very best in their lives. Today we will embark on an amazing journey through this world, where technology ceases to be cold gadgets and becomes warm, caring assistants who know how to anticipate danger, remind us of what is important, and create an atmosphere of calmness not only for elderly people, but also for their worried children. Because the main goal of such a system is not control, but freedom and confidence in the day to come for the entire family. Imagine a typical morning. An elderly woman wakes up, her joints ache slightly, as often happens after a long night, but as soon as she gets out of bed, the soft, warm light in the corridor turns on by itself, illuminating the way to the bathroom. And the light does not hurt the eyes, but creates a convenient, diffused illumination, excluding sharp shadows and dangerous obstacles for tripping. And in the bathroom, the floor is already heated, and the air temperature is optimal, because the system has already received a signal from the sensor in the bedroom that the person is awake and has begun preparing for the morning ritual. This is not magic, but the work of an intelligent system, where motion sensors located at strategically important points, for example, by the bed and at the entrance to the bathroom, serve as the first guards, tracking not just presence, but the very fact of activity. And if for a long time, say 4 hours at night, no activity is detected, the system can send a quiet but insistent reminder to your smartphone, not as an alarm signal, but as a delicate question. Are you sure everything is all right with mom? Because for such a system, the main principle is invisibility and the absence of the need for training. Because an elderly person does not need to learn to use complex applications or remember passwords. The entire system works around him, not he around it, adapting to his habits and not forcing him to adapt to technology. And if earlier such solutions were either unavailable or too complex, today the market offers specialized kits where the main emphasis is placed precisely on the simplicity of interaction and the reliability of operation in critical situations. Take for example the story of a family from Yekaterinburg, where after the father's fall in the bathroom, which occurred in the wife's absence, the son installed a system in their apartment based on depth sensors, not on video surveillance cameras, to preserve the parents' privacy. These sensors, resembling small boxes on the walls, do not see faces, do not record images, but only analyze volumetric space and instantly recognize a sharp change in body position, that is, a fall, after which an automatic chain of actions is launched. Loud communication with the dispatcher service is turned on. A voice message sounds in the house. You have been heard. Help is already on the way. And at the same time, a notification is sent to the son's phone with a request to confirm the call for an ambulance, which makes it possible to avoid false alarms and guarantees that help will arrive within minutes, not hours, as is often the case when a person cannot reach the phone themselves. Let us move on to the most sensitive aspect of any system, the issue of safety, which for elderly people has several dimensions, ranging from the physical inviolability of the dwelling to protection from their own absent-mindedness, which with age can become a serious risk factor. A classic video surveillance system is often not suitable here, as it violates personal space and causes many elderly people to feel constant control, as if they are being watched, not cared for, and therefore modern solutions prefer more delicate technologies, such as smart locks with the ability to create temporary access codes for nurses or relatives, video intercoms with a large screen and loud sound so that it is not necessary to reach for the door, and most importantly, a system for controlling electrical appliances and gas, which works at the level of preventing a catastrophe, not fixing it. Imagine that your mother, out of habit, leaves a pot of soup on the stove distracted by a phone call, and after a few minutes the water boils away and the flame could jump onto the curtains. At this moment in a smart home, a temperature sensor above the stove will trigger, which will instantly send a signal to turn off the cooking surface, simultaneously turning on the ventilation at full power and sending you a notification. Elevated temperature in the kitchen, the stove is turned off. And this is not just a shutdown, but specifically a shutdown of the source of danger, not the entire electricity in the house, so as not to leave an elderly person in the dark and without communication. Another vivid example is the lighting control system, which goes beyond simply turning on the light with a clap. It analyzes the person's circadian rhythms and gradually changes the color temperature of the light throughout the day, using a cooler, invigorating light in the morning for waking up and a warm, relaxing light in the evening, which does not interfere with the production of the sleep hormone melatonin. And at the same time, each lamp can be set to a certain brightness level to avoid blinding flashes that so frighten elderly people, especially at night when they get up to drink water. Thus, safety here is not armored doors and sirens, but a quiet, invisible system that is built into the very fabric of everyday life and works proactively, turning potential threats into ordinary, resolvable situations that do not require any additional effort or special knowledge from the person, which makes it truly smart and truly human. Of course, one cannot talk about a smart home for elderly people without touching on the topic of healthcare, because it is here that technology can become a truly indispensable ally in preserving quality of life and timely responding to changes in health status. This is no longer just pedometers and fitness bracelets, but entire ecosystems where data is collected, analyzed, and turned into actionable insights, that is, into specific actions for you and your parents. For example, a smart mat at the front door or by the bed can measure not only weight every day, but also the distribution of pressure on the feet, which is an important indicator of the risk of developing edema or problems with the cardiovascular system. And if the system notices a gradual increase in edema on one leg over the course of a week, it will not just record this, but will suggest that you, as the responsible person, consult a doctor, accompanied by specific figures and a graph of changes, which makes a visit to a specialist more productive and targeted. Or take the system for reminding about taking medication, which goes beyond a simple alarm on a phone. A special smart pill box, having received a signal from a voice assistant which gently says, "Anna Petrovna, it is time to take your blood pressure pill." And at the same time, if the box is not opened within 5 minutes, the system sends a reminder to your phone, and only in the case of a double miss does it turn on loud communication in the apartment with the question, "Do you need help?" Because missing a pill can be a symptom not just of forgetfulness, but of the beginning of a more serious condition requiring intervention. New solutions in the field of sleep monitoring are especially impressive, where special sensors under the mattress track not only the duration of sleep, but also its phases, heart rate, and breathing. And if a serious deviation is suddenly detected, for example an apnea attack, the system can not only record the event for subsequent analysis by a doctor, but also gently change the position of a smart bed, raising the head end to ease breathing, thereby preventing the development of hypoxia in real time. And all this happens without a single touch, without the need to get up and press buttons, creating the feeling that the house itself takes care of its occupant, like the most attentive and caring nurse who never gets tired or gets distracted. Now let us talk about what is probably the biggest mistake made by most children who decide to install such a home for their parents. The mistaken belief that everything needs to be implemented at once, turning the apartment into a control panel for a spaceship, which will inevitably cause fear, resistance, and rejection from the elderly person who is accustomed to their way of life and does not want to become a laboratory rat for gadget experiments. A smart home for elderly people is built on the little but effective principle, starting with one or two of the most important elements for a specific family which solve the most acute pain point, be it the fear of falling, constant anxiety about a forgotten stove, or the need for medication reminders, and gradually, step by step, weaving new functions into the already established system, like an artist adding new shades to a painting. It is very important to involve parents in this process from the very beginning, not as an installation object, but as the main expert on their own comfort. To ask them, which aspect of your life would you like to make a little easier? Or what worries you most when you are alone? And only then, based on their answers, select technologies. Because for one person, the main thing will be a voice assistant who can turn on their favorite radio program or call their daughter. And for another, it will be automatic curtains that open the curtains in the morning, filling the room with natural light and the feeling of a new day. And one more key point. The system must be as fault-tolerant and simple to maintain as possible, because if parents have to call a repairman every 2 weeks to fix a smart switch, the whole idea will be ruined, and therefore preference should be given to solutions from proven manufacturers who provide long-term technical support and simple component replacement, and not cheap Chinese gadgets with an unknown service life and no software updates, because reliability is more important here than any additional features. And it is better to have 5 100% working devices than 20, half of which break down after a month. In conclusion, it is worth saying that a smart home for elderly parents is not about technology. It is about love expressed in the language of code and sensors. It is about the opportunity to preserve their pride and independence, giving them the right to live in their own home, in their own environment, in their own habitual rhythm, without becoming a burden to their children and without losing their own safety. It is about a calm sleep for you, knowing that even 1,000 kilometers away, you can be sure that your mother is safe, that her tea will not boil over, that help will arrive instantly in case of trouble, and that each of her days is filled with care, even if you cannot be there physically. Do not postpone this care for later. Study the solutions available today, consult with specialists. Start small, but start today, because every moment spent in safety and comfort is priceless for your parents. And your initiative in this matter can become the most important and warmest gift you have ever given them. A gift that says, I love you, I care about you, and I want your life to be not just long, but truly happy and calm.